Story 1. She passed away from leukemia in 2019. I had the honor of calling her my wife for 17 years. I was the luckiest man in the world. I miss her every moment of every day. Story 2. Married her. She is on her way home from work right now. We will have dinner soon, kiss each other, and watch our programs. Story 3. If they are not still in my life, I have not met them yet. But for now, I would say it is my cat, and he is relaxing on my bed watching cartoons probably. Story 4. Haha, well, it turns out my biggest love in my life was actually pizza all along. We had a falling out when I started working on my summer body. It was a messy breakup, but I do not regret a single slice. Story 5. My mother told me I was the love of her life. She apologized for putting others before me. It was really nice. Then she died a week later unexpectedly. They both healed and hurt. Story 6. He left me, ended our friendship for what I view as inappropriate reasons, and the act profoundly wounded my soul. Nevertheless, if he did that, then he was not as good and safe a friend for me as I thought he was, and I did trust him completely. To have that ripped away from me was a betrayal and destabilized me to my very core. Story 7. I lost her months ago, and it hurts so much that I cannot get her out of my head. This makes me sick that things did not turn out the way they are, and knowing deep down, I still love her. She is the mother of my only child. Story 8. We were married for 25 years but got divorced and remained good friends. Last month, she was murdered by a random criminal while I was on my way to go shopping and spend the weekend out. Story 9. I started dating her shortly before COVID-19. Then we had the early COVID-19 era to get to know each other in solitude and became the best of friends during tough and grueling times. She's honestly the best person I've ever met in my life, and we were together for 4 years. Unfortunately, all that time we spent together in isolation, holding on to COVID-19 precautions for years, although it was amazing, created poor time boundaries and built up quite a bit of resentment between us. Romantic love eventually faded, and we became really good friends who fought a lot. We're no longer together, but we're still distantly in touch. It's honestly really hard to imagine that I'll ever find anyone like her again. Story 10. He told me he never loved me in the first place and that he only liked the attention I gave him. So yeah. Story 11. She is married with 2 children, and I see her each week at church, wondering what if. I am happy with the girl I am fortunate enough to be with, though, so it worked out for everyone. Story 12. He was and still is the biggest love of my life, but I was never his. I know which country he lives in now, and I have not seen his face or spoken to him in 4 years. Story 13. Lost touch. She died in 2014. I am still shaken. We were engaged. I lied to her and she broke up with me. I will never forgive myself. Story 14. She broke up with me. 2 months later, she said she did not want to speak to me. I said some hurtful things after being high for 3 days straight, and she has not spoken to me in 5 months. I tried to apologize repeatedly. I asked everyone we knew to please tell her how sorry I am. Even her sister says it does not seem like she will ever speak to me again. Maybe time will heal, but I lost the only person I ever loved, and I have not been right since. Story 15. I have had 2 relationships. The first lasted 6 years. We grew apart, and I am not sure where she is now. She has no social media accounts. Years ago, she wrote erotica online. The second relationship has lasted 18 years. Every other day, it feels like she hates me. I suspect she has some bipolar disorder. Truthfully, I escape into online fantasies to get through the day. It is odd that this realization is both sad and freeing at the same time. Story 16. She died of heart failure on June 25, 2009. She was 54 years old and left me with 2 young adult children. She had been married for 21 years, 8 months, and 18 days. Story 17. Broke up with me out of nowhere 3 months ago. It has been a journey, but I think I avoided a difficult situation. I cannot waste my time or energy being hurt over someone who was not willing to put in the effort or communicate with me. Story 18. He died unexpectedly at the age of 27. It is amazing how much one can love another. The love I have for him is something that storybooks and songs cannot quite express. Story 19. She is with her husband and has just had a baby. I could not wish anything better for anyone else. She was my best friend ever, and I am glad she has found happiness where I could not give her. Story 20. We had an argument due to a situation outside the relationship, something that happened at my house with my mom and my aunt. Their comments were outdated, out of place, and hurt me. On top of that, I was suffering from premenstrual syndrome. We had been engaged for 1 year. I would like to see him, talk to him, and work things out because I love him very much. I cannot stop thinking about him. Story 21. He died on June 12, 2020, while hiking. He called me at 2:19 p.m., said he did his first hike and had his lunch. He forgot his chair, so he had to sit in the car for lunch. He said he was going to do one more trail. I asked what time he thought he would be home. He said about 6 and asked if that was okay. I said, of course. I went shopping to purchase some groceries because I realized how much I loved him and wanted to treat him to a special dinner when he got home. Around 5, I prepped some food, took a shower, and texted him to let me know when he got to McDonald's. I was going to put the salmon in the indoor grill I had purchased. I lay on the bed and listened to the television while I read through the instruction manual. There was a knock at the door. I looked out the blinds and saw no cars, but there was a police car. I opened the door. It was the police looking for my partner's next of kin. It was 6 o'clock. I was heartbroken then. It was all so surreal, and 5 years later, I remain heartbroken. We both finally found the one and were planning on starting our life together as soon as I found employment in the area. We lived about an hour and a half from each other. I just happened to go to be with him after we had been separated by COVID-19 since March. I went to him on May 9th. I can only be thankful to God that if it was written that my partner's days were numbered, I was the one chosen to give him happiness and joy in his last 2.5 years. Richard was 52. Story 22. We have been in a long-distance relationship for over 5 years. We just signed a lease, and she will move in with me next month. Story 23. I never had it. Attempts were made to switch and swap, but I simply cannot establish that kind of connection that bridges the gap. There is no particular individual attraction. It always feels somehow mismatched. I overcompensate, making my weirdness weirder, and it does not really work. My love is left to an impossible future that nobody could belong to because there was too much paranoia. Story 24. I realized that my fears of her being slightly schizophrenic were not valid. She was actually a covert narcissist sociopath who had lied about her entire past and was basing her current identity on those lies for sympathy and admiration. I still love the illusion that existed before the clarity. I am not healed. Story 25. He went to jail for domestic violence against me, got out, used methamphetamine with his partner, then went to rehabilitation. Last I heard, he is doing well in rehabilitation and in love with someone else. Story 26. She became very narcissistic and toxic. She would not allow me to keep my boundaries and was extremely controlling. The most notable narcissistic trait was that she could do something, but if I did the same thing, it was considered wrong. Story 27. We are best friends with a deep platonic love, but I was not healed enough to make it more when she would have been open to that. Now I am working on getting over her in that way as much as I can, while still being best friends and being happy for her to have found someone who can give her a happy and healthy relationship. It hurts, but I know I missed my chances and I truly love our friendship. Story 28. My mother was ill with terminal cancer, and I had just moved to an office job at a shipping company. That meant working at least 50 hours a week, handling work at home, and attending late-night meetings via telephone or Skype with South Korea. Between these two things, my time to hang out was limited. She broke up with me because I couldn't make time for her. I was trying to be with my mom, who was hospitalized at my childhood home with a 24-hour crew of nurses swapping shifts. Simultaneously, I was working hard at a big important new job. I explained to her that I loved her very much. We still hung out about 2 nights a week. Then my mom passed away, and those 2 losses destroyed me. The person I deeply loved and my mom were both gone. I drank too much for a few months. My friends helped me get my life back together, but it still stings. For the record, I now run a crew of 11 people at that same job. Some positives emerged. Story 29. She never loved me back. I have thought about her every day for the last 4 years, and she hates me because we ended any communication on the worst possible terms. I just cannot get over it. Story 30. Thank God she is happily married with a beautiful family and very successful. That was the reason I ended our marriage. She would never have been able to accomplish that while she was still with me. No regrets. Story 31. She is on the couch telling me we have ants. There are 2, which I acknowledge means there are more, but I will deal with it tomorrow. Story 32. She is living a good life. I receive news from her about twice a year, at Christmas and on her birthday. She was the first girl who made me feel love and much more. How she made me feel is still my standard after 18 years apart. Story 33. I finally met mine after 50. I had been married for 23 years, a complete disaster, but we stuck it out in hopes it would improve. It never did. I finally met my love of my life after I turned 50. We worked at the same place. She is 17 years younger, but we fit each other so perfectly it is like we are 2 pieces of the same puzzle. We are getting married later this year and have been together for the last 4 years. Life sure is strange with its twists and turns. Story 34. She gave me chlamydia and was intimate with one of my friends. I can't believe I used to be sad because we broke up. Youth is wasted on the young. Story 35. Right person, wrong time. I was stupid and picked the wrong guy but remained friends with the right guy. Stuff ended up happening and that friendship went down the drain. Now he is an alcoholic with a few felonies. Needless to say, I deal with a lot of guilt. Story 36. He is straight, I am gay. A few years later, he asked me to be his best man at his wedding. I was over him by then. I do not even talk to him now. I have never felt this way about anyone, but it is starting to resurface with someone else. Equally devastating. Story 37. I lost him to alcohol. I was not equipped or ready to walk that journey with him, so I walked away. He got married and became a father 3 times. But the alcohol always stayed with him. He is dead now. Story 38. Great love has never existed in my life. Every woman I have been with has disappointed me and my expectations. Promises were never kept. There was narcissism, suffocating jealousy, and betrayals. Even with my current partner, I am now resigned. However, among these women, one in particular has never left my heart. I was left by her. 22 years have passed, but I have never forgotten her. I would really like to relive that magical moment of my life. Story 39. Married her, divorced her, we are living together not as a couple. She is suffering because she is in love with a coworker who does not treat her well. She cries often because he has rejected her. I need her to find her own place so I can move on peacefully. Story 40. High school sweethearts, we lost our virginity to each other. He was the first man I ever introduced to my family. We bought our first cars together, got kicked out of his house together, and did everything together. He got me pregnant, and when I was 3 months pregnant, I found out he had cheated with his lesbian friend months prior to getting me pregnant. We were planning our wedding since we were already having a baby together. She told me they had slept together once months before. Whatever, life goes on. He really was the love of my life, and I truly did love him, but I don't know why he did that if he wasn't attracted to her. I guess I dodged a bullet. He was perfect aside from that. Quite literally perfect. I'm not in love anymore, but some people make unexplainable and unforgettable mistakes. Story 41. He is at work. He will come home tonight and I will cook us dinner. He will wash up and then we will cuddle and play video games. Story 42. She got married to an abusive alcoholic and got divorced afterward. She is a single mother with 2 children. I never confessed my crush to her. We used to be friends in college. Story 43. She is currently married to someone else after we ended our engagement in December. She got married 3 months after we separated. Sadly, I still carry the ring on a necklace to remind myself that anyone can just walk away from forever and do it with someone else in the blink of an eye. Story 44. Cannot remember. It has been too long. It was too long ago. It has not been important or relevant for a long time. I never looked back. Story 45. I do not know. We broke up over 10 years ago when she cheated on me with one of my friends. It did not work out well for her, as I understand. I wonder how she is doing, but there is no good reason to reach out to her. It would just be weird at best. Story 46. I had to break up with him because he did not know when he wanted to continue our future together. We were 2 years in. I am 25 and just wanted future plans, no set dates, but just an idea of when he would want to get engaged or married. Maybe I was in the wrong, but I know what I deserved. As everyone tells me, men know when they want to marry a woman. Story 47. They just kind of left. I still hope they are okay, though. It would be a lie to say I did not worry about them often. Story 48. She said to me after 10 years together that she is polyamorous. She never mentioned anything like that during those years. I, of course, just want her to be happy, and if that makes her happy, I do not want to stand in her way. That was 2 years ago, and I will always love her. I still do not want a new relationship. No one has been that kind and caring for me. Story 49. He could not get off heroin. I met him when he was sober. We had some of the best months of my life. He then started relapsing, and we went around in a circle for 2 years before I finally chose myself. The last I heard, he is in jail. I choose to love him from afar. Story 50. I married him, and he is currently downstairs making me chicken parmesan because I have been craving it all week. Story 51. I married him almost 23 years ago. He is playing softball right now. He will then come home, and we will watch baseball before falling asleep. Story 52. He turned out not to be real. He had a long-term affair with my best friend of 35 years. I now realize that much in our marriage was not as it seemed. I guess he never really existed as the person I loved. Story 53. I get to marry her in October. After having many problematic experiences with exes, being cheated on, an alcoholic who used to take all my money, and various other wrong people for me, I met my wife-to-be 3 years ago. This October, we are getting married. It is going to be epic. Story 54. She got married after college and divorced 15 years later. We reconnected but started dating other people. We are okay being friends, and she knows how I feel. Story 55. I have only loved one man, but the relationship was unhealthy and quite toxic. He tried to reach out a few months ago, so I know he still thinks of me, but I could not bring myself to respond. I think of him when I need comfort, and sometimes I feel him remembering me. Story 56. 1. Friend zoned me for another guy. See above. Fun fact. They both went to my high school. One was my grade, another was 2 grades below. The third girl dropped off the face of the earth despite me giving her my number. Phone went to voicemail and text gone, ghost, no reply. I have not had a girlfriend since 2018 and have no reason to anymore. Lone wolf life. I am cursed because I cannot keep a girl long-term despite giving her what she wants. It is whatever though. I am over those 2 girls. The third girl, I am still trying to figure out where she is gone. Story 57. She befriended a group of bitter, perpetual singles. Over time, they warped her thinking about me. You can guess how it ended. Story 58. For the first time in years, I felt truly happy for a few months. I ignored warning signs and eventually learned the hard way that it was just a deception, and I was only a stepping stone for a single mother. Now, I just want my own child, no one else. Just me and my little companion living our best lives. Story 59. She is currently in her promiscuous phase after our engagement ended because she cheated twice. Some people are willing to throw away everything for a bit of fun and sexually transmitted diseases. Story 60. She wanted to use cocaine on her birthday, and I said she should not. She never told me before that she used cocaine. Story 61. I kept running after her and told the world that we would get married as if it were a 1990s teen romance film. Well, it ended with a happily never after since she married someone else and always blocked me whenever she could. I made a new Twitter account but was blocked before I even knew what was going on. New Instagram? Blocked. I thought she would come around, but she never did. It was quite a movie being a teenager and in my early 20s. I am glad we never worked out. Apparently, we are as different as night and day. Second love of my life. We had a bad argument last October, lost contact, and I have not been able to find her since then. I want to apologize to her very much. She may have moved on, so I will respect that. Story 62. Like an idiot, I left him to go back to my alcoholic, cocaine addict, cheating ex-husband after a year-long separation, so we could try to raise our child together. My ex-husband and I could never have a really good relationship again, not that we did in the first place. It wouldn't have mattered if he stayed sober forever, and it wouldn't have mattered if he never cheated again. The trust was gone, and the feeling wasn't good in the end regardless. But my love? He was so sweet to me and so kind. He told me I was beautiful every day, and I could tell by the look on his face that he was captivated by me and cherished me. He never drank. He was steady. He came from a good family. He was handsome. He was strong and had a nice body. He worked hard. He eventually started putting my son to bed, told him stories at night, and joined in on parenting little by little. It destroyed him when I left, and I feel terrible. I miss him so much. He even offered to stay with me while I made sure my ex was actually clean. He did not want to lose me. He tried to talk me out of breaking up with him, and he tried to talk me out of going back to my ex-husband, but I had tunnel vision about my son having his father close by. I don't know what came over me. Now I realize that this man would have been a much better father figure. He was a much better example than my ex-husband. I don't know why I didn't see that. I left him right before we would have taken many big steps in our relationship. I often wonder what might have been. I wonder what he's doing now, and I think about him all the time. Story 63. We split because I was too insecure. She was very wealthy, and I often felt like a leech. Even though I made my own money and paid for my own things, she would often pay for expenses like my car payment or drop money on a first-class vacation for us. It wasn't until a few years ago that I realized she did those things for me because she loved me and had the means to make my life easier. That's what you are supposed to do in a relationship. What happened was that I felt like less of a man because I couldn't do for her what she did for me. Only now do I realize I never needed to. She knew what I had going into the relationship and didn't care. Perhaps one day I will be able to reconnect with her. And by the grace of God, she will give me another chance. Story 64. We finally had sex. The next day, he gave me a morning after pill and told me what we did was not a good idea. We never spoke again. Story 65. She called me to tell me she would love to go on another date with me, but suddenly she had to move to Pluto. Story 66. I met her when I was a teenager before the internet. She moved away and took my heart. I have never felt the same chemistry with a woman since, and I have had plenty. I am happily settled down with my family now. However, occasionally, I wonder what became of her. Story 67. I was always unable to fully pursue motor racing. Unfortunately, I was born in a country with very limited autosport involvement and a few true karting schools. I tried attending one for about a year, but getting there after school was tough. 1-hour bus ride across town. My grades started to slip a bit, so my parents told me to stop. I was 13 or 14 and had no say. It was the saddest day of my life. If I were born somewhere like France, Germany, or Belgium, I might have been in a totally different place in life, though I could also have been dead by now due to an accident or something. My dream was to win the 24 hours of Le Mans competing for Corvette racing. I never really had any interest in Formula One. Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile Grand Touring and endurance racing were always my favorites. When I moved to the United States, I was already over 18 with different problems, so I never had time to try and get into motor racing. Maybe I'll be a bit lucky in the next life. Story 68. I left him. I knew I was not good for him. I am the only man he ever dated or even had an interest in. I let him go, and now he has his perfect life. Wife, children, house, and family business, which he would not have had with me. Story 69. Based on my previous relationship, we grew apart not because we stopped caring, but because life pulled us in different directions. Sometimes love means letting go. Story 70. She chose someone else, had children with that person, ended things with that person, spoke to me again, ignored me, and made it work with the other person. She says she begged the universe to bring me back to her. We are together now, and it is the most toxic relationship. Story 71. She is doing well. She married a man who is now a high-ranking military officer. His father was also a well-known military figure, recognized by people who follow politics. She seems happy. He seems like a good person. I probably should have committed, but she seems happy. I am fine here too. Life goes on. Story 72. He married me but would not stop cheating on me. Then he asked me for a divorce while I was pregnant with our second child. Story 73. He was unfaithful to me while we were in college, and we never got married for that reason. Now he is married with 2 daughters near his hometown, working at his dream job with his blonde, blue-eyed wife. Story 74. I messed up the first relationship, which was from when I was 21 to 24 years old, due to undiagnosed depression. Currently, I am in my second serious relationship, which began when I was 34 and I am now 38. I will not be messing this one up. I have had other long relationships during that time, but they were small love compared to the 2 I am referring to. Story 75. He is downstairs in the basement family room, snoring through reruns of Star Trek, with the dog curled up next to him. Story 76. I don't think I have found the greatest love of my life, other than my son. There is one who I feel is the one that got away. I went to school with him from first grade all the way until we graduated high school. We remained good friends through college and even wrote letters to each other. He was the sweetest guy and so handsome. We eventually lost touch, but I found out that he was married with a couple of daughters. I truly hope he is happy. Story 77. We are picking out rings to get engaged on our 7th anniversary. I had to leave my career due to health issues, and he has been there with me through a spinal fusion and aneurysm repair surgery and brain surgery. I have a connective tissue disorder, which is why so many things have happened. He is my rock, and I am so happy and honored to spend my life with him. Story 78. I reconnected with music during a psychotic breakdown. Pro tip: do not live in an overly unstable situation 2,000 miles away from all of your loved ones. While living through multiple failures, tendon surgery, your ex getting mauled by a friend's dog, and an uncle's suicide, my anxiety became so severe that I stopped taking my prescribed medications, Lexapro and Concerta, because they were no longer effective. The decision to stop Concerta was influenced by noticing how forgetful my ex was becoming after long-term use of Vyvanse and a large amount of cannabis. Music probably saved my life through divorce, bankruptcy, being close to homelessness, and a suicide attempt a decade earlier. While this may sound jaded, it is not. At my worst, I knew I had to divorce her. I fought for it the entire time, fueled by mania and psychosis. It was like my inner child throwing a tantrum to save me. So, yes, I think music has always been my love, the great communicator and the most simplistic connection for all humans. Story 79. We were together 7 years. I couldn't control my addictions, and that caused our breakup. I eventually got clean and turned my life around. She came back into my life, but in a different way. We did not end up spending our lives together romantically, but we are genuinely best friends. There are no romantic feelings, just a rich, rewarding, healthy friendship. Story 80. Still the same. Still awesome, still my best friend. Still with someone else, and I am still looking at him from the sidelines for 14 years. Story 81. He is at work, and his weekend shifts due to the tornado damage are over. I am so lucky that I did not lose my home or loved ones in the tornado, but I am very excited to have him home. I have been crying ever since he told me. Story 82. Well, I know that my greatest love has not arrived yet. This time I will be more patient. My last mistake was accepting the proposal too early, which I now think I should not have done until I knew the person well. This time I will be completely serious. Last time I was not, because everything happened so fast that I knew it was not meant for my future. The sooner I left, the better it was for me. Story 83. As far as I am aware, she is a doctor of some sort in Texas. I really wish I had shared my emotions with her better when we were kids, but I also wonder if I would have dragged her down. Story 84. He is still a marijuana user in the same apartment we lived in many years ago, playing video games and having fun while I have made a real life for myself. It is sad but true. Story 85. Recently found out he died 4 years ago unexpectedly. He was in his 40s. Absolutely gutted me. Still not over it. Hope he is at peace. Story 86. She and I met when we were both struggling with addiction. I see that she is now sober, with a loving husband and children. I am also sober and married now, but I can't help but wonder if we had met at different times. Story 87. Still love him deeply, probably always will. When we are together, time stands still, the chemistry is electric, and we feel completely content in silence or laughter. It is that feeling of knowing someone all your life and beyond. We were together for a year and a half, but I had to create distance because he was too busy in his life and afraid. I hope to have the pleasure of feeling that way again about another person. But if not, I am grateful to have had the chance to experience it. Story 88. She became very stealthy while courting and began opening a can of whoop-ass one day. I was initially sad to end the relationship, then realized I was sad for the person I thought she was, rather than the train wreck she actually is. I don't believe she has gone far in life, and the best part is I can look at it with a sense of indifference because she was quite a troubled soul, and appreciation because of the life-changing lessons I learned from her. Story 89. Furthered her study abroad while I stayed local. That's when I learned trees and grass may be from the same place, but one grows further. The importance of studying hard. Story 90. After 28 beautiful years, he had an affair with a married coworker and lost everything for someone he could not even have. Story 91. I married her after 8 years in the friend zone. She finally caught up. Going on year 3 married, together for 5. Do not lose hope. Story 92. There are 2 biggest loves in my life. The first one, I never got to love the way I wanted to, and the second one, I did get a chance to love, but we wanted different things. I do not know what happened to the first one because she disappeared in 2020 around Valentine's Day. She was living in her car, far away from me. All I can do is hope every day that she is okay and living her best life. The second one wanted to be a father, and I do not want children. It was an amicable decision to just be friends. We still are there for each other and care about each other, so I still get to have him as my best friend. Story 93. She put on her backpack over one shoulder, climbed into the back of the pickup truck in Queensland at Cape Tribulation, sat down, turned around, and looked at me as the truck drove her away forever. I do not know what happened to her after that. Story 94. We met by accident while I was visiting my family back home. He asked for my number to keep in touch, and we did. I had no idea his drinking was a problem until I was in too deep. I spent years terrified I was going to find him dead. He had to go to court-ordered rehabilitation for the 6th time last January. We agreed that taking time apart could ultimately help us. It was not going to be just 28 days this time. Honestly, I never thought I would see him sober, and I made peace and accepted what that ultimately meant. Next week, he will have 17 months sober. He is asleep next to me, snuggling our dog, and I have never been this happy or proud of someone. We laugh, we play, we plan, we live our best, most in love life every day now. There is always hope. Always. Story 95. She now lives in another country. I have not seen her in person since we split, but we occasionally talk. There is no ill feeling between us. It was the situation that was unfortunate rather than any wrongdoing. I do wish she had picked a day to end it with me that was not my mother's birthday, though. Story 96. This question opened an emptiness in my stomach. I wanted to answer, but I could not think of any of the women I have been with. Story 97. Her family separated us because of our different religions. For context, we live in the Middle East. Story 98. She left me and it was hard. but I kind of deserved it. I know that she has a child now, a son. She lives with a man, and they bought an apartment together. I hope she is happy. She always wanted a family. I miss her sometimes because she was a so-called old soul, very mature, good-hearted, and positive. We met at the wrong time, and that hurts me the most. I wish her all the best because she deserved it. Story 99. Married her 31 years ago. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's primary progressive aphasia 2 years ago and is slowly slipping away a little each week. Story 100. She left me for the neighbor and put me out on the street. I was so foolish for her that I kept paying 75% of the living expenses for her to be with him in our bed. So, I no longer believe in love. Story 101. I am living with her. We have been together for 2 years and living together for 1. She will one day be my wife once we finish our master's degrees. Story 102. We broke up 5 months ago. Seems silly, but I still have hope that maybe, just maybe, we will get to at least talk again. I really miss him and the children. Story 103. I see people who have lost the love of their life to death, and I am very sorry to you all. I cannot imagine how that feels. Story 104. I have children aged 10 and 5. Her children were starting college. She did not want to go through the teenage years again with kids. She had to go. Those are my children. She met a greater love, blended families, started a business, and created a storybook life. No regrets. Story 105. We found out I was sterile. She wanted to continue, but I caught her crying often and heard her sob to her mother about never being able to have children. So I ended it. I valued her happiness above my own. She has children now, and her husband and I are actually quite close, practically brothers. We both love her, and he knows I will never take her away from him, and I know he will never do anything to hurt her. Story 106. He disappeared completely but kept in touch occasionally through text. He showed up not too long ago to meet for a drink. When we met, he proceeded to flirt and try to make out with me, which did not happen. At the end of the night, he told me he was married. Not only married, but married to his ex-best friend's ex-wife. Unbelievable. Story 107. She broke up with me because she felt like she needed to. She made sure to tell me it was not my fault and that she loved me, enjoyed being with me, and valued the sex and trips we had. That was almost 3 years ago. Not having a reason affected me so much that I have not been on a real date since. Story 108. I do not know who that is at this point. One broke up with me because I was immature and insecure, and married the person after me. One left because she thought I was cheating on her, which I was not, but I understand why she thought that. Ironically, she was the one who cheated. One of us was on a different wavelength, but we recently started talking to each other again. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.